Hi, my name's Beverly Black. I'm an immigration attorney. I've been an attorney since 1992, based out of Philadelphia. I actually worked as a paralegal while I was in law school in immigration. So actually, I've been doing this since 1986, which is probably longer than most of you have been alive. I also wrote a column. Some of you might know me from my column. It was called La Migra y Tú. I'm a Spanish speaker, and for about 12 years, I wrote a weekly column every Sunday that was like a question and answer column regarding immigration. That I self-syndicated that. It was in about 22 different newspapers throughout the country. Shout out to Fayetteville, Arkansas. I think that was my first one that I ever got. And anyway, I've been doing this for a long time. And so I decided to start a channel just on immigration. And I'm going to do two things. One is just like some basic questions. Do you need an immigration attorney? How much should an immigration attorney cost? Who shouldn't you go before? Who shouldn't you hire? How do you know, basically, how do you know who's a good attorney and who's not? How do you find one? So anyway, today, so that's part of it. And then I'm going to do another section that's going to be current events because it's so crazy and there's so many things that are going on right now. So, and to give you some practice pointers as to if you want to file your marriage case on your own, how do you do that? Do you want to file for adjustment, for naturalization on your own? How do you do that? Should you do that by yourself? So there's going to be like two different sections. So this is the first video that I'm making, and it's basically to tell you who can help you with immigration papers and who should not. So first of all, do you need an immigration attorney? No. You can do it by yourself. If you want to do it by yourself, you can do it by yourself. You can have a friend help you, family member. If somebody's going to help you, they need to sign the form that they helped you, which people almost never do, but they're supposed to. But you don't have to have an immigration attorney. Should you have an immigration attorney? Yeah, I think you should. It depends. I'm going to do a video soon after this one that should launch on the same day that this one launches, which is who really absolutely needs an immigration attorney. Well, what would you... It's my cat meowing. Why would you need an attorney? What do they do for you? Well, they give you legal advice. Okay, hopefully it's sound legal advice, that it's current legal advice. And I would suggest if you are looking at attorneys that you at least make sure that they, number one, are certified in their state, that they don't have a problem with their license. And two, is that they're a member of AILA. AILA is the American Immigration Lawyers Association. It's the law association for anybody who's serious about immigration. And I say that whoever you hire should be a member of AILA. You can ask them, and if they say no, they're not, and then they see that you pause a little bit, they're going to give you a whole host of reasons why they don't need to be a member of AILA, because it's about $700 a year. I mean, it's no small thing. It costs a lot of money. But, however, if they really consider themselves immigration attorneys, you have to be a member of AILA. I mean, you just do. So they'll tell you why they don't have to, that they get their information from their local bar association, their state bar association. They have it covered. Don't worry. Don't worry. I've been doing this for a long time. Don't worry. Personally, I wouldn't use an immigration attorney who doesn't have $700 a year towards this association that will keep them abreast of all the news that's coming out. So what do? They give you legal advice. They can represent you in front of USCIS if you're going for a naturalization interview, if you have a marriage interview. they can represent you, obviously, in court. That's probably the most important. If you're in removal proceedings, you need an attorney. If you're in removal proceedings, you need an attorney. Somebody who knows what they're talking about. Now, immigration attorneys tend to be one of two kinds. They either focus on business visas or they focus on family law / deportation. I'm in the latter category, okay? I used to do, way back in the day, I did a lot of business visas, but since it was changed like around 2002, it's not my cup of tea. I don't particularly like the employers who are the clients because they want to tell me what they're willing to do and what they're not willing to do. And I get along very well with regular everyday people, particularly Spanish speakers. And that's who I want to work with. I don't necessarily want to represent the employers. Of course, business immigration is where all the money is. And since I do family immigration, I'm also going to do the deportation work. A lot of lawyers don't want to touch deportation. I don't know why. But they're generally business people or they're deportation / family people. So find out what your person that you're talking to focuses on. So the next group of people, you can do it yourself. You can hire an attorney. I'm going to have a video too about how do you know who's a good immigration attorney. I'll talk about that some other time. 3 would be accredited reps. Accredited representatives, they generally work for nonprofits like Catholic Social Services, HIAS. There's all different nonprofits throughout the country. And to be an accredited rep, the Department of Justice has to approve the organization. They're pretty darn good. However, it's for low income people. So normally there's some kind of a cutoff. If you're making $100,000 a year, they're not going to do your work for you. You can hire somebody. But if you're making $15,000 a year, $18,000 a year, and you have a marriage case, they could very well take your case. Things are all up in the air right now because of Trump. So we don't know what's going to happen with that. In fact, a Nationality Service Center here in Philly, they're thinking about closing down, which would be horrendous because they've been here for so many years. But anyway, you have to pass some kind of an economic test as to whether or not you qualify for their services. But they're really good. They're very good. They have lots of resources. I worked for one. I started at one in the very, very beginning. When I was doing paralegal work in the 80s, I started with one. And then I sort of ended up, when I was closing up my office, I still practice, but I practice from the house. But I went into another nonprofit here. And the resources that they have, the resources that they have are really fantastic. So if you can get an accredited rep to represent you, you're in good hands. And they do lots of stuff. They do asylum. They do USCIS stuff. They go to court with you. It depends. Each one is going to be different. Each one's probably going to focus on different types of cases, different types of clients. But that's a great group to think about. Something to bring to your attention is that every federal senator, congressperson, I think, has an immigration liaison in their office. And we as attorneys use them when the case is really stuck, okay? You can't get them to do your immigration papers. However, if you're doing it on your own and there's some kind of something's wrong, it's supposed to only take 15 months and it's been 25 months and you're calling and they're saying, well, it's pending, you have to wait, it's pending, you have to wait. You can call the senator's liaison or the congressperson's liaison to see if they'll push it through. They choose those cases carefully, the ones they want to work with. If you have criminal problems, forget it. But just keep that in the back of your mind that they, the senators and the congresspersons, they do have liaisons. The last group I want to mention are the notarios. Now, notarios, that's what they call them. They call them notary publics. But look, every ethnic group has one. Have it be the Russians, have it be the Asians, have it be certainly the Spanish folks. They all have notarios that are going to help you, and they're cheaper, supposedly, than immigration attorneys. Not necessarily so, by the way. They can really screw you up. They are practicing law without a license. They're not permitted to be doing this. So, well, we're just filling out forms. No, you're not. You're giving legal advice. I mean, they'll tell you, for instance, one example. They'll tell you on the adjustment forms, they ask you, have you ever worked without permission? And notaries will often say, check no for that. You don't want to tell them you've been working because you didn't have work permission. So, don't tell them you were working. Well, you're not allowed to lie. You're swearing when you sign this thing, this form, you're swearing to tell the truth. You cannot lie. And they'll tell you to lie. They'll tell you, well, this storyline, if you're going to apply for asylum, from such and such a country, then you should mention A, B, C, and D, because this is what works. You do not need that kind of help, okay? That is disastrous. Because you have to be able to tell your story and be honest and open and candid. You don't want to use notarios. Big mistake. I know in Mexico, they have some legal abilities, right? They're allowed to file stuff. I think they can help people fill out affidavits. There are things that notarios in Latin America can do. Not here. The only thing a notary public can do is notarize your signature. You have to bring in your ID. You have to sign whatever document it is in front of that person. They notarize it that this was your real signature. That's it. They're not allowed to give you legal advice. They're not allowed to help you with the forms. They're not allowed to tell you, well, you know what, you should do this. Don't do that. Do this. Don't listen to them. So anyway, I mean, you can do it yourself, but like good old Abe Lincoln said, a man who represents himself has a fool for a client. At the very least, get a consultation from an immigration attorney that knows what they're doing, that really practices immigration law on a regular basis. Do that. Better yet, find an immigration attorney that you trust. Because if you don't trust, and don't lie to your immigration attorney. Okay? Don't lie. I've had people tell me stuff, figuring that if they can outwit me, they'll be able to get through immigration. No. Because immigration has, they can check your social security records, they check all kinds of stuff that I'm not checking while you're sitting here at a half-hour consultation. So anyway, I would strongly suggest an immigration attorney who's a member of ALA that you like, that you've met with. That's who I think you should go with. But I am a little biased. I'll be back here every Thursday with a new video, and I hope to see you. And if you have questions, please leave questions in the comments section. Be happy to answer them. That's it for now. I'll see you in a week. Bye.